Okay, most bizarre stands I've seen so far. Tower of Grey, Yellow Temperance, the Devil, and now the Empress. Oh my god, I love this anime. Portion of my reaction to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders episode 12. This is the episode where we finally get to see Joesph Joestar, the previous JoJo from Battle Tendency, to get his chance to shine and take on a stand all on his own. And I'm glad because this shows that he still got it even though he is an old man. This episode is not only one of the most bizarre episodes I've seen so far, courtesy of the Empress, but it is also one of the funniest. It made me laugh on scenes that I feel like I shouldn't be laughing. However, the episode did start off in a very freaky turn when Enya just learned the death of her son Jay Guile. Because of the connection that they both share, because they're both mother and son, and also I'm assuming that they're both stand users as well, she was able to feel the pain that Jay Guile was feeling. But not only was she able to feel her son's pain, but she also got the same wounds that was inflicted on Jay Guile in the previous episode by Polnareff. Holes started to appear all over her face, on her body, even on her back. And I didn't know how that worked, but it's because of that family connection that they have. So Enya was mourning the loss over her son Jay Guile, which is understandable because a parent does not want to lose their child. So I do sympathize with her on that. But the thing is, Jay Guile is a serial rapist, so he is a piece of shit. So he got what he deserved. I'm just saying. But because of the death of her son, she then starts to go nuts. She goes so far as to beat a stray cat in the head, but the cat's okay, so that's good. I mean, seriously, she kind of freaked me out in this episode. One minute she was sad, and in the other moment she was like laughing maniacally, swearing vengeance upon the group. Now, I do know that not only she is Dio's mentor, but she also has a stand of her own, but we haven't seen it yet. Not sure when we're gonna see it, but probably soon later on. I'm not sure, but probably soon. Now back with Jotaro and the group. They were riding on a bus heading to Veranasi, India. I think that's how you pronounce it. Now while they're heading to Veranasi, Polnareff was lecturing the girl who was a whole horse's lover, which by the way, we learn her name and it is Nena. I think that's how you pronounce it. He was lecturing her on to not fall in love with people like Whole Horse, because we all know Whole Horse was using this girl, but honestly this girl doesn't really care, because this episode revealed that she was a stand user of the Empress, also another one of Dio's hired minions. She said she came from a wealthy family who lived in Veranasi. I don't know if that's true or not, but that could be a cover-up just so that she can follow the group and kill them. And one thing to point out, her stand. In the previous episode, there was a small drop of blood that landed on Joseph's arm, which eventually grew into this tiny little wart. That thing was the stand, the Empress. What the Empress does is infects the body with its blood, I believe, and then eventually grows into this humanoid, creepy, weird-looking growth. Now, the freaking thing is, back when it was like a tiny wart, it had a mouth and was able to bite the head off a freaking fly. But when Joesph took a good look at it, it suddenly grew into this big growth thing with a face. I don't know how much time was passed, but it seemed like an instant it ate the head of the fly, so it grew pretty fast if you ask me. So Joesph assumed that it was some sort of like infection that he got from a bug bite, so he went to this clinic. He had to get it removed, but right when the doctor was about to remove it with a scalpel, you hear the sounds of cutting and slicing and blood splatter. And then when Joesph turns around, the doctor got stabbed and sliced on the freaking face with a scalpel. The censorship in this episode, and even in the previous one, wasn't actually all that bad. They kind of toned it down in a way. But the scene with the doctor getting his face sliced, I checked out the page in the manga, It's actually way more gruesome in the manga than in the anime, because in the manga, his nose was sliced open, his mouth was sliced open, and the tip of his tongue was sliced off. But aside from that, it was still a bit gory with the doctor, whether it be the anime or in the manga. This thing was just a face and a mouth, so it was able to slice and stab the doctor's face with its teeth, with its mouth, because it didn't even have arms yet. And because of this damn Empress, Joesph got in trouble with the police since he was accused of murdering the doctor. Which I thought was pretty funny how he was accused, because the Empress was telling the nurse that Joesph was the one to do it, but she spoke as Joesph. But the thing is, her voice was not the same as Joseph's. And plus, his lips wasn't even moving, unless the nurse assumed that Joesph was a ventriloquist or something and was able to change his voice. But then again, he was the only other person in the room, so how would Joesph explain this? So yeah, not only is he's on the run with the cops, he's got to deal with a freaking growth stand on his arm. Now at first he tried to crush it onto the nearest railing, but the stand actually then grew arms to stop him and grabbed onto the nearest bar so that he wouldn't leave. One of the police officers found him because Empress opened her mouth. This fucking stand. So Joesph decides to use something that he hasn't used in a long time, and that was the hamon, the ripple, which I was a bit excited to see because we haven't seen him use the ripple ever since episode 3, but it didn't work. And it was kind of a letdown really, because oh my god, ripple, and you find out it didn't work. Yeah, but it is understandable because only stands can hurt stands, and it is a part of Joesph, so Joesph couldn't really harm himself with the hamon. So he decides to use Hermit Purple to wrap the Empress. The police officer shot at him and hit the bar, but he managed to escape. While Joesph was like running through the city, twice he passed Polnareff. First time it was because these two guys were moving this carpet so he couldn't see Polnareff, but Polnareff was being distracted by Nena, who was trying to prevent him from seeing Joesph so he wouldn't help. And you know what the sad thing is? Polnareff was actually falling for this girl. I mean seriously, like falling for this girl, because the second time Nena confessed her love to Polnareff and he fell for it. I'm like, no, dude, no. I was so like, when that happened twice, especially with fucking Nena. Also, one thing to point out, when Nena stuck out her tongue, she also had that same wart thing that Joesph had in the previous episode. It's just a copy of her stand, or did the stand infect Nena too? I really have no idea. The Empress itself, by the way, I will admit it is interesting, but it is hilarious because while Joesph was running throughout the city, she was grabbing all these different kinds of food and eating it so that she can grow. Even eating a live chicken, leaving nothing but its freaking head. Not only that, but the way she was talking, and she was constantly saying this catchphrase at first, "Chimime," or something like that, is freaking funny. So eventually she grew into this freaky humanoid growth like Buddhist statue thing. I mean, he did try to wrap it with Hermit Purple one more time, but it bit his arm, which allowed him to deactivate Hermit Purple. I don't know, but that's how it happened. And this thing knows how to fight, apparently. I mean, she was like pummeling Joesph, not only on his artificial hand to break it, but also on the face. She actually landed a couple of blows on his face, even a freaking uppercut. I mean, it's like a mix of Kung Fu from Bruce Lee and Fist of the North Star. I thought it was kind of funny and kind of cool at the same time, but it kind of made me feel bad for Joesph because not only is he on the run from the police, but he's got to deal with this annoying growth thing. I'm sorry, I'm still laughing because this episode was hilarious, especially the fighting. The freaking girl fighting Joesph like that, it was freaking funny. So after he fell into one of the stands in the market, he runs away, which I assumed that he was looking for the stand user for the Empress, but he couldn't find it, and he had to like figure out a way to stop the Empress from taking over his body. So what he did is head towards what looks like this deserted part of the city, found this barrel of thick liquid which he used to dunk his arm in. I thought for a minute there he was trying to drown the Empress, but it didn't work because the Empress then emerged from the liquid and then stabbed Joesph with a nail, trying to get to a major artery or vein onto his neck. Even though the Empress now has a physical form, it's not really a living organism, which is why it didn't drown. Joesph tried to stop it, of course, with his artificial hand, but it was breaking because the Empress was punching at it earlier. The liquid starts to solidify the Empress, which turns out this liquid was coal tar, and it was all part of Joseph's plan to stop its movements. So how did he find the coal tar? Well, he used the power of Hermit Purple's spirit photography to create a map using the ashes that he knocked down earlier when he fell back onto that stand back in the market. So yeah, not only can Hermit Purple use spirit photography on cameras and even on televisions, apparently it could also use ashes too. I didn't know it could use like ashes or sand apparently, but it can. I thought you have to use electronics in order to use Hermit Purple's ability, but no, that doesn't seem to be the case, which is, you know, it's great because we get to see what Hermit Purple can do on the offensive. It's not the strongest stand out of the group, but it's definitely not very weak. At least it is formidable in some situations, and this was a very formidable stand in this fight. So then he uses Hermit Purple to wrap around Empress one more time and then wrap around the nearest pole above the building. And this part, this line he said made me like squeal in excitement because it reminded me of Battle Tendency. He did the "next you're going to say" line on the Empress, which I freaking loved it, and I especially loved her reaction when she said what Joesph was saying. I just loved it. I mean, I love Joesph. He's one of my favorite JoJos so far. I've only seen 3 parts, sorry guys. So I don't know about the rest of the JoJos, but he's my favorite so far, especially in Battle Tendency. So seeing him say this line, it brought me a sense of nostalgia from part 2, and I really loved it. Also, another thing I gotta point out, throughout this freaking episode, this was freaking funny. Joesph was constantly yelling out, "Oh no!" It made me laugh hard because that's all he was saying. Oh no! By the way, I gotta give kudos to Unsho Ishizuka. I think that's his name. Yeah, the voice actor for Joesph. I think he did a really good job in this episode. Fun fact, he also voiced Professor Oak, Hercule, aka Mr. Satan, and Jet Black from Cowboy Bebop. So he defeats the Empress by jumping up and using the sheer force of the gravity to tighten the grip of Hermit Purple on the Empress until it was so strong it sliced her up into pieces. Now, meanwhile with Polnareff, he was about to kiss Nena, but just when he was about to do it, Nena then pukes. This rainbow multicolored puke. And it was nasty, especially when the Empress, when she was just a face, puked at Joesph too. It was nasty. This other person bursts out of her completely looking the opposite. Bursts out of her, falls to the ground, and she is dead. What? Oh god, this anime. Yeah, it turns out that the person that burst out from Nena was actually the real Nena. The body that she used, or the skin basically that she used from her previous victim, that was all a disguise. You know what the craziest thing is? Polnareff was going to kiss her, so I thought that was hilarious. But what makes this even more hilarious is that her and Whole Horse were lovers. So it makes you wonder if Whole Horse knew about Nena's true form. Maybe he didn't, maybe he did, but I like to assume that he didn't, which makes it even more funnier. Because of the whole murder of the doctor, the whole group can't stay in Veranasi, so they're going to have to drive by night. You'd think Joesph would use the Speedwagon Foundation to clear up the mess like they did with Polnareff back in Singapore, but I think they probably did clear it up, sort of, at least enough so that they can drive at night. This scene, I had to bring it up because of how freaking unintentionally hilarious it was. Joesph throws the car key at Polnareff, saying that he was gonna drive. The key then gets stuck in his freaking hair. He doesn't notice, he doesn't care because he's all depressed over what happened with Nena. I don't know why it was funny, but it was! God, I love this anime and its humor. Poor Polnareff. Just when you thought he was gonna get some, yeah, no, she ends up dead. Then again, she was 16 and he's like, what, 24? But then again, the age difference probably doesn't really matter to Polnareff. But I'm pretty sure Polnareff will find someone. Keep your head up, Polnareff, keep your head up. So the episode ends off with Jotaro and the group driving off at night, but they're being followed by someone in this car. I'm assuming it's another stand user again. These guys are so easy to be found by these guys. I don't know how they keep finding them, but apparently it's easy for them to find them. But overall, I thought this was a pretty good episode. It was enjoyable, entertaining in the fights, and the humor was hilarious. Probably the most funniest episode I've seen so far. It was so great to see Joesph in his own episode taking on a stand all by himself. I was a bit disappointed with the whole ripple because I thought he would use it in a different way, but no, he didn't. He said that he hasn't used the ripple for a long time, so what, did he stop using Hamon? He never brushed up on his skills or anything, or just he didn't bother because there are no vampires anymore? But considering that they're going to find Dio, and Dio is a vampire, so I'm assuming that they're probably going to use the Hamon more often once they get to Egypt, probably. I'm hoping for that, but I don't know, considering that this part only focuses on the stands more than the ripple. What do you think of Nena? Nena is just the typical stand user of the week, the minion of the week, so it was obvious that she was going to die in this one. She didn't last longer than Jay, Guile, Enya, or Whole Horse, but at least her stand was interesting and amusing. But her ability is just, what the hell? I mean, infecting your opponents, starting off as a tiny wart, and then eventually grow into this humanoid growth Buddha statue thing, and to kill your host, eventually taking over its body. That's just, that is messed up. I know there's gonna be some more stands with incredibly insane, unique abilities, and so I can't wait to see more of these stands. It's gonna be really great. Overall, this was a pretty good episode. The voice acting was good as always. Humor, hilarious. Was freaking hilarious as always. Animation was pretty good, and the music was also pretty good too, especially like the sitar music used during the narration explanation of the Ganges River and Veranasi. Now, next week's episode is called Wheel of Fortune. This, I believe that's also one of the 7 stand users that Enya mentioned, so we're gonna see the Wheel of Fortune stand. I have no idea what it is. They haven't revealed a lot in the preview, but what it does reveal in the preview is that Anne is back. Why is Anne with them? I have no idea. I mean, she hasn't even appeared in like 3 episodes, and only now she's with Jotaro and the group. Honestly, I really don't understand her character. Like, what is her purpose in this series? Is she supposed to be the tag-along kid? Because she only tagged along with them during the episode with Dark Blue Moon and stopped after the Yellow Temperance episode. But Anne isn't an annoying character, not to me at least, but considering the fact that she now has a crush on Jotaro, I can't help but feel like she's going to be annoying because we have to get another person who has the hots for Jotaro, I guess. And again, girls do love the tough guy, silent types. It's revealed that they're going to leave India, which I think, if my geography is correct, they're heading to Pakistan, since they're heading west. But I could be wrong, but maybe that's their next destination, Pakistan. So the episode is out on Crunchyroll, so if you want to check it out, I will leave a link in the description down below. And tell me guys, what are your thoughts of this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What are your thoughts on Joesph Joestar versus the Empress? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video if you like it and subscribe to more videos. And be sure to check out my Facebook fan page and Google+. So yeah, Stardust Crusaders episode 12. Pretty fun episode, pretty enjoyable, and freaking hilarious. Yes, Joesph, I'm so proud of you. You took on a stand all by yourself. I'm Respawn27, and I will see you guys later. Bye.